Sure. Hook my microphone. Welcome, everybody. We're going to start today by first observing your posture. And as we've been teaching you the last couple of weeks, and we'll do in 1 minute meditation. So I will ring a bell, and the bell is a signal to go inward and to start. And then I'll ring the bell again to come out of the meditation. So just bring your attention to your breathing. Centering your attention onto the wave-like fashion of breath in the body.
All right. Thanks for starting with a little bit of mindfulness is something that we like to do because, it has such an immediate, just a short amount of mindfulness has such a kind of visceral and quick effect. And this week's theme is embodied mindfulness, and kind of in a yin-yang fashion. Last week, I kind of talked more about the body and physiological effects on mindfulness and the science of that. And this week, I'm talking about the brain. And that's because I really don't want the dichotomy to be so strict that there's the brain and there's the body. They really have a very, very close relationship. I always have trouble the first time. So I have been involved in meditation research again since the early 2000s, and I worked for Richie Davidson, who's seen standing here. And in these early studies, we would bring, because, again, not many people had done quality research on mindfulness. The field was kind of had a bad reputation. So we brought in these expert meditators. And this particular individual, Mathieu Ricard, actually has a PhD in chemistry and had a lab for a while in France. And then for whatever reason, he kind of ran away and became a monk, but he still has sort of the knowledge and scientific training. So when we started to develop a paradigm, we would have him come as our frequent guinea pig to test out the paradigms and give us, real feedback. So we, would have these people who were, had tens of thousands of hours of meditation practice come and lie down in the MRI scanner that you see here and do the different types of meditation. And then we also trained novices who had never learned meditation before. And then we would look at their brain and look at whether there are similarities, whether there's differences. We really approached it all with a very open mind. And in fact, some of the results were so contrary to my expectations that it took me a year to bring my brain around to them. So the task and what they did was very similar to what we just did with Nicole. Except because we wanted to monitor their eye movements, we had them use, instead of the breath, a little dot on the screen. And in fact, I've gone to, not meditation specific, just Society for Neuroscience general conferences and presented these data and made the entire audience do the meditation on the little dot on a screen. So the instruction was to place your attention and awareness on the dot. And if your mind should wander, gently return to the dot. And, we can do that for maybe, let's do that for 10 or 20 seconds. Ding. So then, the whole room is, I gave the talk originally there was 500 people, and it was the theme was attention, it wasn't even meditation specific at all. And it was just amazing how the whole room changed. You get, people to all of a sudden just relax and place their attention gently on an object, and the whole awareness and feel of the room can change. And so what we did is look at the brain of people who had done a lot of meditation practice, and they had done a minimum of 10,000 hours, which has this whole, expertise literature on it, and compared them with just people who, a lot of them were just professors who, were age matched and education matched to the meditators. And we had them just place their attention on the dot. And I think all of you can kind of see that what's striking is maybe not so much the differences, but the similarities here. So there are types of regions in the brain that are known to be part of an attention network, a network for sustained attention, the type that when you're studying or trying to figure out an issue in a work problem or a solution or an email, these are the type of regions that tend to be active, the frontal cortex, parietal cortex, and if you're focusing on something visual, some of the visual areas in anterior cingulate. When we did subtract the differences between the two, what we found is that, okay, not too unexpected, the meditators had a little bit and significantly more activation in these attention-related regions in the frontal cortex, parietal, insula, etc. But they also had a special area for the novices that was more activated than the meditators. So what was up with that? The medial frontal cortex anterior cingulate is sometimes called the oops area of the brain, or the error monitoring region. So what we think is that this comes up in other studies where they're performing some kind of cognitive test in the MRI scanner, and when they make a mistake, and this is important, and they're aware of making the mistake, that's when that area lights up. So this is very useful to us, right? We need to be aware of when, oh yeah, shoot, I did that a little off. I'm going to try that again. Or I'm going to make a note for future reference that I'm not going to do the same thing that way and try a different approach. So this is probably when they're a little distracted and they're like, oops, I'm supposed to place my attention on that little dot, and they return it to the breath. And that's actually a really good thing. You want to see something like this. And I was quite encouraged by the results. So the practice is simple to learn. You get the same brain pattern in experts and novices. There's a really good match, but there's room for improvement. Now, some of you might have noticed a sound of a happy baby, unless you were so into that dot that you cleared out listening to any sounds, which is not actually a good idea. It's not the instruction. You can hear the sounds, and you'll see from the data that the meditators do. Oh, I meant to warn you about that. So that sound is a very aversive sound. It's rated by, thousands of people have rated a bunch of human sounds as being the most aversive and the most happy. So, sounds like a happy baby cooing are really loved, and a sound of a screaming woman is very terrifying, and people find it very disturbing. There are also neutral sounds like a restaurant background noise. Oh, that's not the one. That's a happy baby. and kind of a neutral restaurant sound. So we played these sounds. They would have maybe a minute and a half just to do the meditation. And then the last part of their meditation block, they were kind of 3-minute blocks, they would hear these sounds. So we're trying to disturb their meditation on purpose, right? So here, when you look at the brains, you see quite a striking difference. The experts who are, 10 to 50,000 hours of practice have, all this activation in the parietal, and here it's a little bit lower. What's going on? So one thing I want to point out first is that there actually is one very, very important similarity. And this is not only an interesting finding, it's an instruction. So try to keep this in your mind, that meditation is not a trance. Primary auditory cortex is where sounds are processed when they get in the brain. So primary, secondary auditory cortex are sitting, if your brain is kind of like this football, they're sitting on that temporal lobe. And there was absolutely no difference between experts and novices. The sounds get into the brain and are processed, which is really important. You don't want to block out sounds. But what seems to happen is that there's a dorsal and ventral attention system. So the dorsal system is kind of like holding steady, concentrating. That's what you're doing when you, again, are studying, working quietly, writing emails, thinking about solutions. That's the sustained attention network that's keeping you kind of focused. But when you're maybe walking in the woods and hear, a sound in the rustling in the leaves, it's like, ooh, a squirrel. You get distracted, and probably for good reason. It might be a dangerous animal, and it turns out maybe it's a squirrel. But this kind of squirrel brain that, if you're trying to concentrate and you find yourself noticing every little sound, like, oh, my air conditioner is making a sound, or, I heard someone in the hall, and you can't concentrate on the task at hand, that's when it becomes problematic, when you can't fluidly switch. So what did you find? In the experts, there was this dorsal attention network, and in the novices, there was more of the ventral attention network. So the novices were more like, oh, it's a squirrel. it's a weird noise. I'm hearing a strange sound of a happy baby or a screaming woman or a restaurant noise. Whereas the experts were more like, hold steady. They would keep their attention. They would just kind of bolster up their attention focus rather than needing to assess what that sound is. So yeah, they hear a sound, but they're not going, what is that? Ooh, I didn't like that sound. Oh, I really like that sound. And none of those elements are present. So to summarize this slide, sounds get into the brain. Do not suppress sounds during meditation. Sounds are great. But you can work on more of a hold steady approach to distractions rather than following those thoughts, following those sounds that you might hear, following, some sort of bird that went past your window. If that happens, fine, gently return to the breath, but it is a little bit more of a oops, that part of the instruction is just to, maintain one's focus. Also, when you heard that screaming woman, the differences there between experts and novices was this amygdala. The amygdala is an emotional related region of the brain that it's not just negative, it's kind of complicated, but if you're processing, ooh, there's the sound of the screaming woman and it's aversive, or that person's in need, or whatever it is, you turn on some sort of emotion when you hear a motion type of sound. But the experts, when engaged in that particular meditation practice, lowered their amygdala activation. They did not allow the sound to have that emotion processing. So, okay, that sounds kind of good. They can really control their attention, and they're not even emotionally reacting to something that would normally make you, have an emotional reaction. But, and it correlated with the hours of practice. So they've actually improved over time. But isn't that like problematic? Like, couldn't you become like Spock and just be like, oh, your friend is telling you about some terrible tragedy, and you're just like, that is very interesting. Tell me more. I'm highly interested. No, you can still have a very emotional response. And we're going to do next week a type of meditation that these same experts and novices did while in the scanner, and that's a compassion meditation. So this is just a little preview to show that for the screaming woman and other aversive sounds, when the same subjects in the same scanner session did a different meditation called compassion meditation, they actually had an even more amygdala activation than the novices. So now the experts have turned on amygdala full bore when they hear someone who's in distress, and they are increasing their compassionate feelings towards the distress. So they're not Spock, they are just fluid. And so if the instruction is focus on the little dot, they can do that. And if it's, oh, be compassionate, they do that. The other study I'm going to present is this Fox et al. Study from 2014. And they analyzed both fMRI activity differences in meditation, as well as looking at white matter changes. And what they found is that the gray matter of the brain actually seems to increase in certain regions of the brain as a correlate with amount of training and meditation practices. So if you're doing more mindfulness, you're not only changing the fMRI activity, like when you're doing meditation, but all the time, like your entire structure of your brain is changing. And this is wild, because when I was back in college, we were told that the structure of the brain never changed past adulthood. It clearly does. Other studies and different types of expertise training has showed this, but experience with mindfulness also bolsters up the region of the brains needed for things like attention. Hippocampus is related to memory. It's also something that can atrophy in depression and Alzheimer's disease. But I want to draw an anterior cingulate for emotional processing. But I do want to draw attention to the insula. The insula is an interesting area of the brain. It's related to kind of the link between the brain and the body. So the insula is letting you know that the body is feeling a certain way, and that's called interoception. And there are other studies on interoception with, this is a field of study in neuroscience, and it has this connection with other regions of the brain. It's also very closely located to the exteroception, awareness of the outside world, awareness of the inside world, and making the link between your thoughts and your brain and what you're doing and your body. And so I'm going to have Nicole now talk about the definition of interoception. And we're going to do some practices to help us get embodied, help us get into our body.
Yeah. So embodiment is a practice of being in your body and listening to the signals that are happening so that you can respond creatively to what's happening. So embodiment has a continuum of really three different practices. One is proprioception. Where's my body in space? You kind of need that. That's very important. And it's good that we have gravity to remind us of that. Then we have exteroception. Exteroception is what's going on just around me. And interoception is what is going on inside. So for instance, when we practice yoga, we practice all three. And today we'll do a chair yoga practice in a little while that will help us to get in touch more with that feeling, that sense of interoception inside of us. So it's really important because it's that embodiment helps us to feel more motivation and to have more well-being and to be more present. So it's all in the field of mindfulness. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add, Julie?
No, please.
Okay, great.
Get into our body.
Okay, so we're going to practice today some chair yoga. I love chair yoga because it seems to be a practice that so many people can embrace, especially if you have injuries, but mainly if you are at work on a chair and you don't have a yoga mat. and be able to lie down or stand or to do whatever. So the benefits of chair yoga are just the same as the other practices, standing and lying down and such. So, but in this case, it's very important we relate our practice to the prevention of burnout. And emotional regulation, deeper awareness. And there's a real change in your heart rate and your blood pressure when you practice yoga that is very beneficial. And it helps us to process emotions as well. As in yoga, we believe that we store these emotions inside the body, and the movements and breathing and attention and interoception help us to bring those to the surface and work with them creatively and transform them. So yoga can really train your brain to be in present moment. And like Julie said, to fluidly switch from one state to another. So those practices are great. So today, all you will need is, Anthony sent you a note saying if you have a yoga strap, if you have a belt, if you have a sash, if you have a scarf, anything like that will be helpful. You may not need it at all, but it's good to have the props. The props help you to practice more with more ease, especially where there's limitations. Okay, and then after that, we're going to review the breathing practices that we've done in the last 2 weeks. So we're going to start, I'll stand sideways so you have a better view. So in the beginning of your practice, I would suggest that you create a really quick, short intention. That intention helps you to launch yourself into your practice and to be fully present. It kind of sets the tone of your practice. So let's just spend a moment here on our posture. Back nice and strong and supportive, but not too rigid, as Julie says. And then just soften the whole front of your body. And I like to take my hands together and my thumbs to my heart, and then to just create my intention, something real simple. Good. And I bring the arms alongside the body. Because we have a short time together for a yoga practice, I generally do not have the time to explain the physiology of each pose, how each pose affects different systems or organs in the body, but I try to give you a little bit, just and it's something that we, if you join a yoga class, and you can learn more about that. So we're going to start today by releasing tension in your neck and your shoulders. Good. So with the arms alongside the body, come forward on your chair a little bit. Good. And let the arms dangle down. Release the space between your earlobes and the top of your shoulders. Take a breath in. And exhale, let go. So let go of all that you're shouldering. Sometimes you feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. So it's good to just be aware of that and be aware of the load that you're carrying on your shoulders, and exhale and let go. Good. Now you're going to take your right arm and bring it above your head and bend your elbow. You're going to place your hand to the side of your head on the left side. Good. From here, you're going to take a breath in. As you exhale in and out of your nose, of course, draw your ear toward your shoulders, both shoulders relax. And we're going to take the left arm and bring it out to the side a little bit and reach out through your fingertips, which will lengthen the whole left side. We breathe slowly in and out of the nose. And with each of these movements, you can stay longer, or you can isolate them and just practice them individually. One more breath. And then slowly come back to center. Let the arm drift back down alongside the body. And let's practice the other side. So left ear to shoulder, right arm slightly to the side, reaching outward with your fingertips, feeling the lengthening on the side of your neck. So the trapezius muscle here gets a nice stretch. And take a breath in, and as you exhale, slowly come out. Good. And now we're going to do a side stretch. Side stretch are great to stretch the side of your body, open the rib cage, the intercostal of your rib cage. Helps you breathe a little deeper. So we're going to start by take your right hand and hold on to the side of the chair and bring your left arm above your head. We'll hold that for one breath, breathing in. And then breathing out, release. Let's change sides, inhaling. Exhaling, take the arm above your head. Breathing in. And then breathing out and slowly release. Good. Now open the arms to the side, bend your elbows and place your hands on your shoulders. So this is really nice to loosen up the upper chest, the upper back, but mainly release stiffness in the joints of your shoulders. So we're going to start here by bringing the elbows in front of you with the exhale. And as you inhale, come up, go all the way back. And then start to exhale as you come down and forward. Let's do this one more time on that side. Inhaling, come up. Exhale, roll down and then back. So let's come back to neutral here for a moment. And we're going to take that into the opposite direction. So inhale, come back and up. And then exhale, coming forward and down. Inhale, come back up. And then exhale forward and down. And now let the arms simply completely drop alongside the body. Good. The next movement is not on the video that is on our website, but I really like it. And I thought I would teach you that movement today. It is called eagle arms. It's part of a pose called eagle. But what it does that I like so much is that it opens your shoulder blades like sliding doors, because a lot of people get tension right here between the shoulder blades from too much work on the computer and just losing track of your body, not doing interoception, losing track of your body and being so in your mind that you have no idea what your body's doing. You've experienced that before? Yeah? Okay. So eagle arms, because arms are intertwined and hands are together, sometimes that's not accessible for a lot of people. So if you have a strap, sash, whatever, even if you have like a cardigan, you can use that. Anything as a tie, if you're wearing a tie, you can use whatever you have around. So with practicing eagle arms, we bring the arms in front of us. And with the arms in front of us, we bring the palms up to the ceiling. From the palms up, we bend the elbows. From the bend of the elbows, we take the right elbow over the left. And you may find this is all you can do today, and it's perfectly fine. Second step would be to bring the back of the hands together. And then the last one is to shift and just bring the palms to touch each other. And so at this point, this would be a good time for you to have your straps. You start with your hands like this, take the elbow over, and then gradually you walk your hands in toward each other. Okay, so right arm over left. Good. And now being aware of the open space between your shoulder blades and the back. There's a couple of the muscles there called the rhomboids. They're getting just nicely stretched and open. Feel your breath in the back of your body. And to come out, you want to come out slowly. So first release hands, wrists, elbows, and like you're flying with an eagle, take the arms up and then back out in front of you. Bring the palms to face the ceiling. Bend the elbows. Now bring your left elbow directly over your right. And from here, you can grab your strap at this point. Okay, or just bring the back of the hands together. And also another option is to grab a hold of your thumb like this. We don't want the wrist like this. That's not healthy for your joints. So from here, breathing slowly in and out of your nose and breathing in the back of the body. Feel the shoulder blades opening with the breath and coming back together a little bit more with the out breath. One more breath. And now release the hands, release the elbows, open the arms up, and then bring the hands back together. So that's eagle arms. And it generally really feels good in the upper back, the upper chest, the shoulders. Good. Our next movement is cat-cow stretch. So in cat-cow, you might be familiar with that on all fours. And next week, when we have our lying down yoga, we'll be doing that on all fours. Come forward on your chair and place your hands on your knees. With your hands on your knees, we're going to tilt the pelvis back, round the back, and take chin to chest. So we're pulling the belly in on the exhale. When we inhale, we do the opposite. We use our hands to pull on our knees to lift the chest, tilt the pelvis forward, arc the back, bring the chest forward. Do not lead with your chin, but just the chest. And then exhale around the back as if you're trying to reach the back of your chair. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, go back. This is really nice for stiffness in the lower back. Gives a little tone to your core. And it relieves also tension in the hips, but mainly for the spine. The whole spine is getting a little tune-up. Good. And we do this one more time, please. And we end with the exhalation in the back. So this movement here is called a cow, and this is called a cat, in case you'd want to know. Good. Next movement, we work a little bit more with the shoulders. And I find this invaluable when you are sitting at the computer for many hours, because it opens the chest, releases a lot of tension in the shoulder. So what I'll do is I'm going to demonstrate this movement first, which is easier on most people. Is hinge from the hips. So coming forward, leading with the chest and bringing the head down and the arms right above the head. Good. So that is the strap assisted pose. The other way to do it is to interlace your fingers back behind you and squeeze your shoulder blades together. So we just open them. So this is a really nice, again, little tune-up for your upper back. So taking a breath in, whether you have a strap or not, hinge from the hips, start to fold your belly over your chest and your arms above your head. Good. Breathe slowly in and out of your nose. And to come out, press down with your feet, use your legs and your core muscles, and coming back up. Take your hands on your lap, notice how you feel. Good. And the next movement is a hip opener. So we're going to start by bringing the right knee into the chest. Good. This is called the knee to chest pose, and it's also called the wind relieving pose. So if you have indigestion, that'll be good. Good. And now from here, with the knee up, we're going to take the outside of your right ankle and place it above your left knee. And from here, I have my hand around the instep of my foot and my right hand on the inside of my right knee. Now, the next part is optional. Either stay where you are, or you can hinge from the hips as we did, and then come forward here to your complete comfort level. And I am very conservative with the hips, because many exercise programs, including yoga, really kind of overdo it on opening the hips sometimes. So just go to your comfort level, breathe slowly in and out of your nose. And then when you're ready, come back up with an inhale. And then exhale, lower your leg down. And then we'll do that on the left side. Interlace your fingers below your knee. Bring your knee into your chest, shoulders relaxed. And now place the outside of your ankle on above your right knee, hand on the instep of your foot, other hand on the inside of your knee. Either stay where you are or hinge from the hips. So do not round your back like this in an attempt to touch your head down to your knee. So we just lead with the center of the chest. And you may find that one side is much looser than the other. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, come back up. And breathe out, take your foot all the way back down to the floor. Good. Take a moment here to integrate. How do your hips feel in your lower back? Good. And from here, we're going to do a back bend. So we're going to take both hands behind you. Either grab a hold of the chair behind you, or if you have a chair like me that has an open back like this, you can take your hand and hold on to the back of the seat. Cobra is an energizing pose. And if there's just one pose that you keep in here for your practice the Cobra. And I would say eagle second. Okay, giving your body a nice tune-up. So holding on, squeeze the shoulder blades together and feel your back now arc like a cobra, a really smooth curve. And from here, as you bring your chin gently up towards the ceiling, have the bridge of your nose parallel to the ceiling, no further. You do not want to yank your head back behind you. It's not healthy for your neck. So we open up so the bridge of nose is parallel to the ceiling. We feel the opening in the front chest and around your heart. One more breath. And then as you exhale, slowly come back. Good. And as you slowly come back, we're going to move into a twist. So in this twist pose, we're in the front of the chair, and we're going to either keep the legs together like this and the feet together, or you cross your right leg over the left. Just see what works for your body. Good. Then you're going to take your right arm and bring it behind you and grab a hold of the back of the chair or the back seat of the chair. You can actually turn like this if you'd like. If you have that option with the chair, sometimes some chairs don't, okay? Or you can put your hand on the seat of the chair behind you. So depending on the kind of chair you have, just get your back arm behind you. Take your left hand to the outside of your right knee. Inhale, stretch out of the waist. And as you exhale, lead with your belly button, and second, your chest. Let your head just follow smoothly and naturally. And look over your right shoulder with your eyes. Be aware of the breath in, breath out. Notice what's happening inside the body as you hold. And take a breath in. And as you exhale, slowly come back. And we're going to change sides. So now as we change side, left hand behind you, right hand to the outside of your left knee. Inhale. As you exhale, first reach with your belly button, then the center of your chest. Breathe slowly. Twister, excellent pose for your spinal column, for your hips, and for tension in the shoulders. So taking a breath in, and then as you exhale, return. So this is one of the poses that I suggest for if you have problems sleeping. And I have 3 of those poses on our Facebook page. Good. So the last movement is a forward fold. If you go on our website, last week was standing and balancing yoga, and I have 2 relaxation, then 1 seated and 1 lying down. So you could always just do the relaxation by themselves. So after each of the session is a relaxation. So if we stand, we end with a forward fold, arms up. Good. Take your thumbs in the crease of the hips, hold on to your hips. Chest open. Inhale. And as you exhale, open the knees and fold forward. The hands can be on the knees, on the shins, on the ankles, or all the way down to the floor. We'll hold it there for 1 more breath. And feel the lengthening in the back of the body. Come up on your tippy fingers, or take your hands a little higher up your legs so the chest is open. So you're opening your heart and your lungs forward. Take your right hand on your right knee, left hand on your left knee. Keep your heart and lungs facing forward. And then inhale, come up, sweep both arms up, and then exhale, come back down. And now just spend a moment noticing how you feel. We're going to do just a little bit of breathing, and then Julie's going to lead you into a great body scan. So I suggest again that your back is away from the back of the chair. Unless you have back pain, then it's fine to roll up a coat or towel or blanket behind you so that you're comfortable. We want the chest open. We want length and width in the diaphragm muscle. This is our main muscle of respiration. So in week 1, we did a breath awareness. We're aware of the inhalation. We're aware of the exhalation. And then we became aware of the gap, the pause at the end of the inhalation. And it kind of just shifts and transitions into a full, long exhalation. And at the end of the exhalation, there's another gap pause as the body receives the inhalation. There's a tendency to exaggerate the breath, especially at the end of the exhalation. People are like, trying to find the breath in. Just simply invite the inhalation in your body. Feel the end of the exhalation in that pause. And the inhalation really just happens naturally. The breathing practices are great for you to get more of a sense of interoception, what's going on inside me. Not only at the level of the body, at the level of the mind and emotions, what's going on inside as I practice. We can then help to restore a person's sense of presence and agency in the world. A better sense of well-being. And we also learn to bring the breath silent, quiet breath. Make sure your jaw is relaxed, the root of your tongue, center of your chest. And last week we transitioned into the 3-part breath, which was filling up the lower segment, mid segment, and upper segment of the lung in a smooth, smooth, smooth wave up, smooth wave down. So let's practice that this week. You're welcome to place your hands, and I talked last week about whether you found out whether you were a chest breather. If you were a chest breather, it was helpful to have hand on the rib cage and one on the belly. If you're a belly breather, then place your hands on your chest. So wherever you place the breath in your body, place a hand on your body, the breath will go there. You know, and we do this with a friend, for instance. We see a friend in distress and we put a hand on their shoulder and they relax. So it's very helpful to place the hands on the body as we breathe. And now take a nice, full, long exhalation. At the end, you'll feel a little squeeze of the abdomen towards the spine. Relax. Do nothing. Let the inhalation come. There'll be a gentle movement in the belly, an expansion in the rib cage laterally and to the upper chest, and then exhale, upper chest, rib cage, belly contracts slowly. So now making this a nice, long, smooth wave. Feel it not only in the front of your body, but the sides and the back. So it's okay to place your hands into your lower back, especially those of you who have low back pain, perhaps chronic pain. If you place your hands there, your breath will go there, and you may feel just a little relief. Let your eyes be soft or completely closed. So these breathing practices can be practiced anywhere. And I suggest that you go on a website, and I have the audio there, the 3-part breath, the breath and body awareness. And the more you listen to them, the more you'll be able to internalize these practices, and they'll come up naturally when you need them, but you need that initial practice. So the practice is very important. And I think both Julie and I would agree on stressing that, right, Jules?
Sure. I think one time I had it maybe right before we gave a class. I had a fall, and my little Wren was just like a 6-month-old, and I had her on my front carrier, and I almost fell on top of her down kind of a rocky hike. And I could not do regular mindfulness, but I could do 3-part breath. And so it just was what I needed to do. And so you'll find different practices are more appropriate for different types of circumstances. So what we're going to do next is called the body scan. So John Kabat-Zinn, who created the original mindfulness-based interventions in the 70s, adapted kind of a Western practice of where you might have heard of progressive muscle relaxation, or progressive muscle or progressive relaxation, where you go, over the course of the entire body slowly. But instead of doing any muscle tightening or even, sending relaxation, you don't do any of that in this case. All you do is become aware. So what you're doing is sharpening that sense of interoception so that you can learn to listen to your body, because your body is going to tell you what you need. During the breathing practices, I skipped one of them because my body told me, hey, you're a little dehydrated. So your body gives you signals that are very easy to put on a back burner. And hopefully this can help reverse some of that, because putting it on the back burner can lead to burnout. So if lying down is accessible to you, you can do that. This is usually taught lying down in an in-person class, for example, but doing it seated is just fine. We've done that quite a bit when we have larger audiences, for example. So, get in a position that's really comfortable. You don't want, and you can make little adjustments. You don't want to be too cold. You want to feel that your body's supportive, but again, not slouched. So relaxed but alert. You have your eyes either closed or loosely focused. I find closed in this case a little easier. So generally we go from toe to head. So first, I like to assess the entire body. The body is breathing naturally. We just did breath exercises. You may still be feeling some residual sensations in your body from the seated yoga routine. So becoming aware of the body as a whole and of your body as breathing. And then you take one's attention and place it in your right foot. You can notice your toes, bottom of your foot, your right heel, and your foot as a whole. Moving up to the ankle, you simply place your awareness there and notice any sensation. You don't try to change the sensation, just notice how your foot and ankle are feeling. If there's any tension there, or if it feels relaxed, hot, cold, sore, just noting. Moving attention up to the back of the calves and along the shins, the right knee, front of the knee, area behind the knee, the large muscles of the upper leg, quads and the hamstrings of the right leg, and their insertion into the hip. Moving to the left foot, again, the toes of the left foot, bottom of the foot, heels, top of the foot, and ankle. Now you can just try sensing whether there's any difference between the right foot and the left foot, between the left leg and the right leg, since you've placed your attention more on the right leg. A lot of this is just finding out how your mind and body interact with each other. So now the ankles, the front and back of the calves, on the shin, the knee of the right leg and back of the knee. Is there any tension there or any other sensations? The top of the quadricep and hamstrings, and their insertion into the left hip. Again, compare the sensations in your legs before moving on now to the sitting bones, the buttocks, contact with the chair or floor. Any sensations there? Solidity, heat, cold, soreness. Feeling the tailbone, the lower back, lower abdomen, moving up the spine, the small of the back, the thoracic region. And moving up the front, intestinal region, the organs of the middle, regions of heart and liver, the movement of the diaphragm. Can you feel your heartbeat? Moving to the lungs and rib cage. Nicole, you're placing attention into that region. So you may have more of an awareness or familiarity there. Noticing how your breathing affects the lower part of the body that you were just attending to. there any rhythmic changes? Moving to the muscles of the upper back, feeling their expansion and contractions, sways, and any other sensations if you're lying down. Moving up to trapezius, shoulder bones, deltoid, and now moving down the right arm, so top of the shoulder, down the arm, the lower part of the arm and the fingers and hand. Same with the left, upper shoulder, bicep, tricep, elbow, then all the muscles of the hand, which are in the lower arm, as well as the ones in the fingers and thumb. Do you notice any difference between the right and left arms? Can relate to handedness. And now moving back up the arms, bringing your awareness to the neck region, the lower up to the atlas, the contact with the skull. The front of the neck, any tension there, any sensations there with breathing or swallowing. Can you feel the carotids? Any pulsations? Moving up into the head, feeling your head as a whole and its weight on the neck. Feeling the back of the skull, the scalp, and then the forehead. Really taking care to attend to the eye region. Any feelings or sensations of your eyes either moving and tension. And the temple region, along the cheekbones, the nose, the sensation of any breath coming in and out of the nostrils. The mouth as a whole, and then of the upper palate, the lips, the tongue, where it's sitting, and the lower jaw. Noticing where it's hanging, whether there's any tension. And now we're panning back out to feel the entire body again. Feeling the entire body as a whole. And feeling any sensations of the breath or heartbeat throughout the body. Does the body feel any different than when you checked at the beginning? If there were any sensations of discomfort, pain, relaxation, heat or cold, Have they changed? And finally, taking a deeper breath and bringing attention back to the exteroception, the surrounding environment. You can open your eyes, move your body. If you were seated, bringing your body upright. And we have come to the end of our class on embodied awareness. And if we have any questions, I do have to leave to teach a class. I'm going to wish you all a wonderful afternoon. I have a med school class. So.
And I can stay just a few minutes to answer questions, either in the chat or unmute yourself. Please fill out the after poll. And next week, we're practicing lying down yoga. So wherever you are, see if you can possibly have an exercise mat, a blanket, or a yoga mat. That would be wonderful for that practice. Okay, let's see.